We've got some fresh new young talent doing some things that I know you haven't heard before.
1, 2, 3, listen.
You got to have the why, and we know our why. So
you don't need to reinvent the wheel. Yep. Millions and millions of people have done this already. You can get help, you can get a roadmap, you can save a lot of time, money, and frustration. Welcome to the Value Add Podcast with K&K. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Value Add Podcast. Kenny, do you want to tell everybody a little bit about what we did this weekend on your 40th birthday?
40. Man, I was chasing 40. Now I got to start chasing 50. Well, we're going to plan something, and then of course, me looking to continue to grow our brand and keep pushing and keep bringing value to you guys. We decided to hire brand builders, and they came out Friday and Saturday. Kristen, awesome. We spent basically probably over 16 hours with each other. So basically, we're going to have more to share, but we focused on looking at ourselves and building our brand. And honestly, it was amazing.
Yeah, so that's how Kenny likes to spend his birthday, working. A lot of our friends weren't too thrilled about that.
Sorry, guys.
But anyways, we are having Billy Canu on the podcast. He is with the Canu Group, and he is just an all-around awesome entrepreneur, super smart guy with marketing, and has a pretty impressive background. But he also has a lot of local San Diego businesses. So if you live here in San Diego and you haven't checked out some of his the businesses that he's invested in, you definitely will want to listen to this episode and probably go do a few things that he's invested in. So
yeah, I would say we knew a Billy. We didn't meet him, and sometimes it's really fun. But as we say, I think we hit it off, and I think we'll be friends with him and his husband. And his resume is honestly too long to even talk about here because the guy's done some amazing things. And one of the things I love about him is that he's a badass marketer. And so if you do own a retail location of anything, or you're going to, or you want to learn more about it, this guy knows how to take a retail location, bring clients in, run it, and give you that whole experience. And that's why he's part of 45 different locations with different retail companies and crushing it. So guys, stay tuned. Jump in. Let's get it started with Billy Canu.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Value Add Podcast with K&K. Today we have Billy Canu with us, and he is with the Canu Group. He owns a ton, or is invested in tons of small businesses around here. Renegade, there's Remedy Spa, Fox and Jane. Yeah. There's a handful, Chiropractic, which we love. Just a handful of really awesome small businesses. So thanks for coming in, Billy.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, I was I didn't meet you. I saw you at Nick put that Renegade party on.
Mm-hmm. The holiday party.
And I know Mon's like, you got to meet him, and everybody's talking, and then the night went away. And but I was there looking you up. I was like, man, how many businesses is this guy into? I'm like, what's the story here? There's got to be something going on here. He's doing something right or something. So I'm glad you came on. This show is called Value Add. So I'm like, you're adding value to these businesses in some way. Otherwise, some people don't have that many partners in business, I don't think, unless you're adding some type of value.
Totally agree.
My opinion.
Yeah, no, you're totally right. I mean, same with you guys, though. I think it's, all the businesses, or what is it, apartment units you guys have?
We have apartments. We do. Yeah. I do commercial financing. Kenny does residential. Yeah. And then we have a podcast.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah. I think that's really cool. Yeah. It was kind of interesting for me. I just always was interested in learning about business. I had a lemonade stand when I was 10 years old. And nice. I did it with my friend, and he was like, I was like, there's no, customers here. We got to get customers. So I took us to the city park, and we tied boxes around our neck, and the runners would come around, and every day we'd go to that city park and basically sell lemonade or Gatorade or whatever. And that's how I started making money. And then I think ever since then, I've just always been kind of entrepreneurial and wanting to help people kind of figure things out. Yeah, it's been pretty crazy.
Are you kind of more interested in the customer acquisition side of it, how you attract people to your product?
I think that's what people need from me, to be honest. Yeah. But I think I like the side of building a compelling business model that gets people excited about their business or the business to use it. And so, for example, with Renegade, when Jamie and I started working together, it was about building something that I kind of felt like I needed, which was something that built muscle. And so, I went to a lot of places that were very cardio focused, and I was kind of like, I want the Superman workout. I want that sort of thing. And then Jamie, of course, developed an amazing plan. So Yeah.
He's so into it too.
Oh my God, he's so into it. It's amazing.
Kenny just took one of his classes recently. I was like, you've got to take this guy's class. Like, I don't even, it was like such a right fit for him too.
It's like a what is it, a monster truck rally? I'm like, oh, here we go. You know?
Yes.
Yeah. I know you might not feel like 70%, but you're going to do 70, damn it.
Oh, you do a better imitation.
Yeah.
And he's got his like laser thing.
Oh, yeah. Now when he's walking by, he's like, hey, get your hands up.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, whoa, underneath me.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, he's amazing.
If he takes out the laser, that means he's sore from the gym, and he just wants to So just so you guys know, that's the secret.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
That's
I'll
hilarious.
have to give him a trap for that.
Yeah.
How did you? So, what part of the business? I mean, you got all these businesses. So, what part of the business really are you adding value, or what do you think you're just really good at?
Yeah, so I got my start in, my first business was when I was 21. It was an e-commerce business, kind of like a Netflix. And I remember when I first started it, I was like, all right, where are the customers? And my programmer at the time was like, you have to go get them. And I was like, oh, okay. And so I started playing around and learning something called SEO, search engine optimization. And I really just started kind of building it up, and I got it to the first page for DVD rentals and all these keywords. And so I was approached by a competitor, and they were like, hey, we'd like to buy you. And I was like, yeah, that sounds great. Cause I was like, it just sounded fun to do. And so one of the conditions though, is I had to continue doing marketing for them, which I, again, didn't know I was a marketer, didn't know I understood those things. And so I started helping them with that. And it just turned into me working with Warner Brothers and Paramount and Oakley and Ray-Ban. I ended up helping launch Spotify in the UK and in the US and just did all this crazy stuff. And so I started kind of thinking, oh man, all this stuff I'm doing for big companies, what if I were to bring that into small business? So I started taking on some small clients, and honestly, people were just like, oh, I'm really struggling here, I'm really struggling there. And then I just turned it into a full-on investment. So where I basically just started helping people bring in clients and kind of grow. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So did you go to school, or is it self-taught?
No, it's all self-taught. And I always think about that. I always like, oh man, I really wish I would have gone to school, honestly. But now I'm kind of like, I'm good.
Could they really teach that though, like back when you started? Because wasn't it, you kind of pioneered it really along with other, like anybody else who's good at it pioneered it really.
Yeah. I honestly, it's funny that we just had this conversation, my husband, Shannon, and I, about how I think I learned my master's degree of like SEO, marketing, everything through mistakes and just really kind of hacking, what needed to be done, kind of like that Jarvis guy that you guys had on. Mm-hmm. And so I just kind of feel like it really helped me, and kind of, I don't know, it's something I really do feel like school probably wouldn't have taught me. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you went high school and then just like entrepreneur, just started a business.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Yeah, I worked in banks. I just had a very business mind from the get. Like I was saying, that lemonade story. I mean, I sold candy bars in high school and pretended it was for my choir, and ended up making like probably $40 or $50 a day from that. Yeah, I got a job at a bank, and I quickly moved up the ranks and worked for the Small Business Administration. Just like I learned. I've just always been entrepreneurial, and so I think that just kind of came with it.
How long have you been in San Diego for?
I've been in San Diego. So I spent about 2 years, maybe 3 years in the UK, launching Spotify. And then I just used to travel a lot for work. But I've been here for about 13 years. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Where are you originally from?
Colorado, Denver.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So you're selling lemonade in Colorado then?
Oh, it was so cold. No,
it
was the summer. No. Well, let's just say my income and my business went down at like December.
Yeah, you're going to make all my money, and then I get to like, yeah. Oh my gosh. You got to sell like hot chocolate or something.
Yeah, right? Yeah. Oh, I should have done that. Yeah.
See? Well, you might want to go back.
Well, hey, if the Canu Group thing doesn't work out, now you know.
You guys see me. Yeah. Everything went terribly wrong. Yeah.
So these companies that you're doing the stuff for, but you're also an investor too.
Yeah. So the way it's set up is like, for example, it started with Fox and Jane, my business partner, Lauren Cairns. Her and I knew each other through mutual friends. We got together, and she was like, oh, I've always had this dream of opening a salon, but if I don't do that, I'm just going to stay editorial. And I just thought, oh, maybe this is the sort of the first thing I can do. So I said, I'll put up the money for you. And, and if you want to do it, and we'll figure it out. And so we launched that. that in 2011, and that now has, I think, 10 locations, and I think we do about $13 million a year from that, which is amazing. And then after that, I kind of just realized, oh, this is sort of the direction I need to be heading, where I basically help people get their start, kind of guide them and what needs. I mean, Lauren needed no guiding, let's be honest, but it was, but now I've kind of now helped people and coaching them, and then I also provide some money, and then I do the marketing, all that sort of stuff, and get them launched off. Yeah.
So is your primary focus in marketing SEO then?
I would say now it's moved into like systems and really kind of, like my last few projects, I've taken on businesses that were a little struggling. So for example, chiropractic, which we're all open about, so there's nothing weird there, but where I've come in, there was some system issues, and then I kind of helped them figure out those issues, got them set on the right track, and then they started exploding from there.
Well, I think the hard part is like, as an entrepreneur, we're probably really good at that thing that we're doing. Like they're probably like really good chiropractors, but then there's marketing and bookkeeping and like employees and payroll and all these things that you're like, oh, this is what it means. I'm a business owner. I'm not really just a chiropractor anymore. So you're not going to be good at all of those things. Hopefully you just have the capability to hire people who are really good at it, or invest with people who are really good at it.
I think in life we're made to be, a partnership is such an important thing. I mean, you two seem to be great partners, my husband and I, and then my business partnerships, it's really where I thrive. I thrive in one-on-one sort of communication. And so that's really just helped me, and I think that's really help them. So I think it's, people where they're really struggling being a great chiropractor, being a great esthetician, which is Skin Habit, and turning that into something bigger. Yeah.
Well, I think I agree with you though, because I kind of started when I was 19 doing loans, and it was just me. And I remember I used to talk to people and be like, I feel kind of lonely. Like I need a partner to run things by, somebody that I can kind of like, we can kind of like strategize together, like somebody kind of be passionate about in the business, because you want to be creative with somebody. You can't do that really alone. And I think you are better with partnerships. And definitely, we were just talking about this in the last episode or the last podcast that we did, is that with social media and the internet, everything's become so much more collaborative. So it's not as much of like a competitor or everything needs to be all mine, therefore I'm not wanting to share with you. Yeah. You're like, I have talents that I bring to the table. You have talents. You need to focus on those so we can grow this thing bigger than you ever thought.
Totally agree. Yeah. I mean, I really feel like I have one piece of the pie, and that's getting people, set up and bringing them clients. It's a great thing to be able to bring people clients. It's a bad thing when you have nothing to bring them to. So, it really kind of comes in handy. And I think that now that's like family. It's actually hard for me to have regular friendships because I'm so like, if you're not my family, I mean, how am I even going to hang out with you? It's very intense. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, also too, like you get a lot out of those relationships. Like you give and you get back, and you have something in common. Like it's like a baby. Like you have all these literally babies. Family. That you're kind of helping to evolve and grow. Yeah. We have a project called Yoga Box, and I started it with she was a member at Renegade, was a manager at a local yoga studio, and she had this idea. I always kind of had an idea for a yoga. We came together, it was whatever, but I mean, that was in January we met, and then February we signed our first lease, opened up in March, and now we have 2 locations, and it's basically been a year since we probably had that first conversation. And I will tell you, we are like deep family now. She's living in one of my houses as a renter, like all that sort of stuff. I don't know if I was supposed to say that, but it was just, it's just, but it was, it's just a really amazing, now it's like, I'm like, oh my God, she's like literally my family. And that was in 1 year. I mean, it's crazy. So it's a relationship. It's not just business.
Yeah. Oh, totally. All the time.
Yeah. They become like family.
I think it's so important. I mean, I just have to get along with everybody I work with. I mean,
well, and how could you not? Because it is such like business is such an intimate, personal thing. I mean, it really is. I mean, that's your livelihood. That's how you provide for your family. It's how you do the things that you love to do. It's like, it's
and
very
shit
personal.
Can go wrong and shit can go good, and you got to be able to deal with it.
You have to be able to ride that roller coaster together. Yeah, and support each other through that. So I think that's also it. It's never that easy. You know what I mean? I'm not going to pretend that my story was something where, and I actually remember listening to your guys' podcast where you even said that it's there's a lot of bumps. There's a lot of hurt feelings sometimes. And it's just, and so it's like, how do you sort of thrive and grow from that? Yeah.
How do you though? Like, just how do you deal with that?
Girl, I don't know. I just try to enjoy. You know, it's really funny. I had this this guy, you know, that he like knew somebody that I knew, and I had to let them go from a project or whatever, and he made like a big fuss out of it, and I was just like, look, I'm just not going to make everybody happy, and I you know, and that's my goal is to make a lot of people happy, and I'm not going to make everybody happy, and I just took that on, and it's really made my life a lot easier because I'm not for everybody. You know what I mean? And I'm not
okay.
and not everybody's for me. Yeah, exactly. So it's just, and I don't know. We just try to wake up every day with a smile on our faces and just enjoy what we do. Yeah.
How do you? I mean, because you have a lot of things going, and I think all of us, you know, we all know people that's starting a business or trying to start a business, and there's so many things you have to do too, which is overwhelming. I mean, just finding a spot in San Diego is tough to find a lease, and you got to negotiate the lease, and then you're locked into this lease, and if it doesn't work, then it's like you could be personally in liability. Yeah. That's the side that we know. So a lot of people are like, "That's crazy," but why do you think you like your groups and you guys like? I know Renegades, just like I go in there, you get your butt kicked, it's great. But, you know, we were talking about with Jamie and Nick, it's like some are having success, some are not. Yeah. And I think some people might just be like, they're great instructors, but they can't run a business. Why do you think you guys are having all this success with all your business?
I think it's, I try to build a business based on feeling and kind of like what the value add is for everyone. So for example, with Renegade, it's that you're going to get, everyone always says, oh, I wish I could work out like a, you know, blank athlete, movie star, whoever. So, you know, when we developed Renegade, that was the intention. And so when you go in there, you are literally getting one of the best workouts you can, and it's built for an athlete. And so, and literally so much so that Nick Hardwick is like, yeah, this is great. I want to be part of this. You know, Philip Rivers comes in, is like, yeah, I want to be, you know, it's like, so there's just that level. Same thing with yoga. I mean, it was with Yoga Box. I remember I'd be in yoga and I'd kind of be like, oh man, I wish there was like a sound system in here. Oh man, I wish there was like, you know, something like a feeling in here. It was just kind of a little bit boring. And so I created that feeling with Amanda. Skin Habit. I love facials. I love, you know, all that, but they're so expensive. You know, it's like every time I would go get a facial, it'd be like $200. But I'll tell you, I'm about as basic as you can get. But I always put my cream on every night, get around the eyes, do the whole thing.
Just saying.
Just saying. I know who wears the cream in this house. No, but you know, it's so when we created Skin Habit, it was with that in mind. You know, so it's always just trying to you know, really appeal and create that feeling. And honestly, it's my first piece of advice for anybody is like, what are you actually answering? It's okay to open up another yoga studio. It's okay to open up another gym, but what are you going to do within that to create the feeling of something different? Yeah.
I will say I went to like the websites for each of the businesses that you're involved in, and there's also like a feeling there.
Yeah.
So like Skin Habits website is so cool.
Yeah.
And like,
did you do that? He's like, yes.
I'm like, thank you very much.
I love it.
It's just got like some fun personality, and it's kind of like funky and fun. I don't know. There's something about it that is like really unique and different. So I think you guys have done an awesome job, you've done an awesome job in all of your businesses, like creating that feeling. Like you go there and you're like, this is a place I need to try out. Yeah.
Yeah. It's, I really try to base it off of the intention of my partner. And so, you know, like with Skin Habit, you know, my partner's super fun, but she has a medical side to her. So I try to really bring that together. And then, you know, her business originally was called Aesthetic Sauvage, which was hard to say. And, you know, she would say the name and it would be hard for people to write down.
Like, what?
Yeah, they're like, well, what did you call me? And and so then we, you know, got to Skin Habit, and, you know, it just kind of worked out. So again, I think that from start to finish, it's making something that just feels different than the rest of the marketplace. And I think a lot of people get a little bit lazy with that, and where they think, oh, as long as I put up a website and as long as I have a logo and as long as I have, but what I really try to think is like from start to finish, how is somebody going to have this feeling? Yeah.
It's you're really much about the experience. That's what I'm hearing. From like when you go on the website to when you finish a workout or finish your skin therapy.
And I think that shows though, because I was looking also at reviews. I always look, and you guys have tons of good reviews across all of your businesses,
which is so important.
And so it just goes to show that like people are feeling that experience that you want to bring them.
I love a bad review. I honestly, I'm probably one of the only people that will say that, but I love hearing what I need to work on. Yeah. And I will tell you, I will pivot so quickly quick if I get more than one piece of feedback on something. You know, if I get the idea that this is actually an issue for us, I will pivot so fast you won't even believe it. So it's really interesting what negative reviews do for me. I mean, I take no offense. I take constructive criticism like no other. Yeah, don't tell Shannon that.
He's like, great, I have a list for you.
Yeah. He's like, I disagree.
No, so we have vacation rentals.
Yeah.
In La Jolla Shores, and Rose actually runs them. And we just have another management company, but we just thought we can do it better because that's a thing where it is really about reviews.
Yeah.
Because when you go on to go here, Palm Springs, wherever you're going to go, you're going to look at a house and look at reviews. And that's a lot of people, that's how you base if you're going to stay there. And so I always look at reviews, like you said, is sometimes it is frustrating. Rose will get all, this is crazy. I said, look, but they're teaching us. I don't stay there. I don't learn. If something's broken or this, it's like they write a review. It's maybe 5 stars, or why they put this. It's like sometimes they tell us, but I love it because then that means that person just told me something that's bothering them. Now it won't bother anybody because I can fix it.
Yeah.
So we're pretty quick to like fix things, I think, when you can in a business like that.
Yeah. I think it's also going above and beyond and kind of realizing that you want above and beyond response. So you want somebody to go in and be like, oh my God, they really gave me the attention. They left me. I used to have an Airbnb myself, and I used to get some popcorn that was for local beer from Coronado Brewing, you know, all that. And I would put it in the place, and they'd go, oh my God, I've never stayed at a place that had all this stuff ready for me as a gift. And I would, boom, you know, 5-star review. You know, it was just like, it was that easy.
Even if there were a couple little things off here or there, it's like immediately okay. Just with
if
that
you read
little
those
gesture.
reviews, it was like the popcorn was
Yeah.
king.
No, it's so true. Well, I was saying that to Kenny because I went to Europe with a girlfriend and we stayed in Airbnbs, and I was like, geez, everybody in Europe, they do that. They leave you like a bottle of wine with some like little
champs.
Yeah, something like and a little snack or something. And a lot of times the host will meet you there. Like we went to coffee with some of the people and stuff. It was
I don't do all that. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. No, I'm like, they're so personal, but the gift, I mean, for me, I could skip the coffee because I'm like, we're tired or whatever, but like the little gift is such a huge thing. You're like,
I agree.
Oh, that was nice.
Yeah.
And it's not that expensive. It's just a
totally
little
agree.
gesture.
Yeah, I love that
Very
stuff.
smart.
Yeah.
So, it's kind of, we don't really I haven't really got to talk to too many people like on the podcast that have the small business. And I'm intrigued because, I listened to like I'm drawing a blank. Who did I listen to? Grant Cardone's marketing guy, Monty.
Frank Kern.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. You know who Frank Kern is? Okay. Yeah. So a lot of people I know, you know, they have a small local business and they're struggling, and a lot of it's customers.
Yeah.
They just can't get customers. Yeah. So he's working on all these, you know, the geo tracking and all this stuff. So with the stuff you're working on, are you in charge of like all the marketing then? Social, SEO? Are you like, can you kind of tell us a little bit of what you're doing and how you're doing it? Or you have to get maybe there's some secret private stuff.
Here's my secret. No, Shannon actually takes care of all the social, and he does on like all of my projects, and which is amazing. And then I do all the online marketing, website, and then I honestly, you know, it's really funny because I always kind of think, you know, people will come to me and they'll be like, oh, my salon's called Grandma's Salon, and, you know, I want to be just like Fox and Jane. And I'm like, well, the first problem is that your salon's called Grandma's Salon, right? And then they'll go, I tried geofencing, you know, blah, blah. I tried all these things, but nothing's working. And I'm like, well, you need to change your name probably, blah, blah. And they'll go, no, I can't because, and boom, there you go. It's like, you know, they'll be like, because it was named after my grandma and I have to keep it. And so it's just really interesting how just one little thing like that could be the difference of whether or not you make it in a business.
Branding.
And then I think that, you know, the next step is bringing customers. Is your thing compelling? You know, like a lot of times there was a big moment in salons where you could get away with really charging a lot for hair. So there used to be salons where you could, and I mean, there probably still exists, but it was like $500 for a cut and color or whatever, all this crazy stuff. And, you know, we just really realized that how do we become the everyday, you know, salon that is more accessible to people, all that. Same thing with our gym memberships. And so we figured out a pricing that was compelling, but still would bring us profit and allow us to grow and all that. So I just think there's a million little factors that go into play, and you'd be surprised at how many of them do get customers. You know, I'll tell you, Chiropractique was a great example of that. Chiropractique was bringing customers just fine, you know, but the issue was retention and their pricing structure. And, you know, there's a lot of other other sort of avenues. And so I had to go in and really figure that stuff out, so I think it just depends.
And that's what's hard, I think, with somebody like Chiropractic. If you already have an existing business and you have a lot of customers, the person who's running the business is not going to be able to put everything on pause and comb through their strategies and go, okay, now we need to figure this and redo our menu and our pricing and all this stuff. It's really just time and expertise too. Yeah. So it's like they're just so busy doing chiropractic and paying the bills and looking at the books and dealing with employees. It's like, where is the time to look at that stuff? Yeah,
it's that teaching people. What I try to do is teach people to work on the business instead of in the business. Yes. I'm sure we've all heard that before.
Yeah.
And getting them excited. There's a quote, and I'm going to butcher it, so I'm just going to give you the sort of whatever to it. But it's instead of teaching people how to build, or instead of forcing people to build the bow or to cut the wood or to whatever, get them excited about being on the open sea. And so that's what I really try to do. I try to get people excited about, and this is even my team members, everybody that works with us, it's like they get coaching to work on their career and how to expand. We do exceptional things for exceptional people. So that means that like if somebody wants to have their own business one day, if somebody wants to expand on their own thing, we want to be there to support them. Or if even you're working at the front desk at Renegade, what is that going to turn into for you? Can I give you the skill set or the knowledge base that you could become the manager at another location or, grow from us? Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
No, I know, because it's because all your businesses that you're a part of here are all brick and mortar.
Yeah. I have 25 brick and mortars. I'm closing a deal right now for a blow dry bar. It's funny that you were talking about that. That's 13 locations that I'm gonna be closing any day now, type of thing, and then more gyms, all that. So I by the end of hopefully January, I'll be at 45.
Wow,
yeah, it's pretty crazy.
That you're in charge of that.
And I'm in charge of growing, all that sort of. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I mean, all my business partners are really active in the management side, but strategically, it's pretty crazy.
And I feel like the businesses that you are involved in are kind of like management intensive too.
Yeah.
So like, hairstylists and estheticians and
what I always tell people, and we have it as a big ethos for the salons, and I've been kind of putting it into other projects, but we want to be the Harvard of whatever we're in. So we want to be the best of the best of whatever we're in. So our constant conversation is, how can we be the best version of that? Now, look, when we're first starting off, I never start off a business putting in a ton of money just to, waste on a concept. But like what we will say is, like, how can we make this a great experience and a Harvard level feeling? And so for the salons, you have to have a minimum of 5 years experience to even be in the salon. You have to go through an intensive program with us before you even get on the floor. Skin Habit, we have an intensive program. Renegade, we have an intensive program. Every sort of thing that we do has an intensive education part of it that makes it the best of the best. So we always try to be like the Harvard version of our business model.
I think I noticed that too, actually, at Renegade, because wasn't Maddie, he was like working at the front desk, and now he's a trainer. Now
he's like one of the best trainers.
He is. Yeah. So I saw that working out there, him working at the front desk, and then like slowly starting to work in.
Let's go, get up.
Yeah.
And he's really good. And
by the way, that's him navigating his career path. I mean, if he decided that that's all he wants to do is be in the front and go to school and whatever else, and I think that's exciting. I think that's a great platform to bounce off of. But if you're the guy that wants to be a trainer, one day have your own location, whatever else, take that trajectory. Yeah.
No, I think it's so you basically, it sounds like you kind of have like a template set up that you kind of like. I mean, there's different businesses, but you have a template, a system that you can plug and play in these businesses in some way, or
I should do that. No, now that you say that, no,
hot chocolate and a template. Okay,
yeah, exactly. I call Jarvis. How do I do it? I think it's hard to say. I think a lot of businesses have the same issue, like they, every business needs a customer, every business needs good branding, all that. So I think that's pretty templated. I think that, you'd be surprised at what works for, I used to actually do a lot of marketing for multifamily stuff. So, a
company?
It was DZAP. You guys ever heard of that? DZAP Lease Labs. Yeah. And so I was like their sort of their outsourced head of, online. So I worked with Wasatch, Carmel, all these big property groups. Yeah. So anyway, and what they needed in each territory was so different to get rankings. So this, what gets you rankings or gets you clients or whatever in different industries, same thing. Regulations, the regulations. I'm actually an MSO. I'm not considered I'm the owner of an MSO, excuse me, which is a medical service operator, which allows me to have a medical practice but not make medical decisions, all that. So it's like a management company, right? So there's just a lot of different regulations. I'm just excited about the process of learning all of those things, and I think that I'm just calm enough to be able to handle the stress involved with all of those steps. Yeah, I don't know where I was going. Your
personality, like, just you can make it all work.
Yeah, I think that it's just. I think the devil's in the details and just kind of figuring all that out and holding people accountable. Accountability is like a huge thing. Consistency is a huge thing. We have a big thing in our relationship about being super consistent and accountable with each other. And that's really spurred from what we've done with our businesses.
Would you say that you're a detail-oriented person?
You know what's so funny? We've been really going through this lately where I didn't know that I think I'm a mess, like I'm like, oh, I'm crazy. Yeah. And then, but then I'm also the guy that wakes up without an alarm clock. I'm also the guy who will make sure that all of my emails are done. I'll also, I'm the guy, I remember I worked in a co-share office once and I'd look around and everybody was on Facebook or Pottery Barn or whatever. And I was the only one that literally sat down and just did my work for, 5 hours straight. And then I was done. I just had it always. So I guess I am, that was a long way to say that, but.
I'm the same, that I could sit at my desk forever and work. Kenny will need to get up and pace around. I'm like, I will stay here until I'm done.
Yeah.
And that's
I think it's it's good to be focused. I think that's my big piece of advice. Take that away with you guys.
Yeah. I mean we really, until last year, we never really did any marketing.
Yeah.
None.
Yeah.
So she's been doing commercial loans since she's 19. I always say that because it's so young. And she just kind of was really successful all the time. So she's like, why do I need to do marketing?
Yeah.
And
just referral based.
No, I know, but then
I was always scared to spend money in marketing. I felt like I was going to lose it.
Everybody loses it. I mean, honestly, you have to really, it's trial and error. It takes a lot of money to, and the mistakes involved with it to get where you need to be. I always tell people, marketing is an expensive avenue.
It is.
And, I think my business partners are really lucky and sometimes spoiled because, like Renegade, I think we had 500 account creations, 250, free trials created. When you start really sort of breaking that down, that's a lot of clients, and that's in 1 month. So it's like Yoga Box. To have 2 locations in a couple of months is insane. Within 6 months is insane.
Huge.
So it's like I think that it's a very dangerous place to be, because if you don't know how to run AdWords budgets, know how to do SEO, know Facebook, all that, you lose money instantly. Yeah.
Sorry, do you have a team then that helps you with all the marketing?
Oh my God, you wish. No, I wish. Sorry. Yeah. No, I do a lot of it on my own right now. Wow. I have a team of about 30 people in Canu Group that do a lot of different stuff for me. So I have like an HR person. I have my accountant. I have my business partner, Michael, who runs a lot of the sort of operational type stuff. And then we do have a few people on the marketing side, but it's not a huge team. It's like maybe 2 other people. Yeah.
So your focus is really the marketing.
I think my focus is, I want to say, it sounds funny, but like it's almost everything. It's like every day I spend a little bit. It's whatever the fire is.
Because you're the CEO, right?
Yeah. It's just like, so it's like, I will, that morning it might be the fact that memberships are down. The next morning might be that we had a bad review, and the next morning might be that we need more leads here. So it's just always an ever changing type thing. Yeah.
So you kind of like put out the fires, or help put out the fires.
Yeah, I definitely put out fires. Yeah. Yeah.
It sounds like most people that own a business. You're
that's this life.
That's what you end up doing. But it's good. It's funny too, because when there's big problems, everybody wants to talk to you.
Yeah.
They don't want to talk to the person that's working.
I've been really lucky to have great business partners who take on, like, we had a repeated flood from rain in our Point Loma location, and Jamie was just so great about handling all that. I literally felt like I didn't even have to deal with anything. It's just, it's unbelievable. So I have to tell you, my business partners take a huge brunt of the hurt on that. Lauren, my business partner with Fox and Jane, it is literally, she is like, queen bee. I mean, she runs the whole thing. I'm just there for moral support. I really focus on the marketing for that. I'm taking up this new blow dry project with her. But like otherwise, I mean, they're very capable. It's pretty crazy. I think they need and I wouldn't say Lauren's this, but a lot of people need coaching really up front, and then afterwards they're great. They're like awesome. Yeah.
Do you think a lot of small businesses, if they're not making it, because I think a lot of people too with the marketing, and that's what with us is when we started getting into it, the thing with Crystal is she hears all the horror stories. She's like, we got to start putting money out, how to know it's going to work. We already have something that's working. And then, she wants to put her money into real estate that pays you every month, which we know really, really well. Yeah. So, but I think a lot of small business we see, and, I've been able to meet people like Gary Vee and stuff like that and sit in a room. And that's what he says, a lot of people just go and they hire this firm and they just blow all the money and they go, it doesn't work. Yeah. And then they're out of the money.
A lot of those firms are really expensive.
That's what I was saying. It's like, how do you, if you're a small business from your perspective, how do you like navigate if you're not a marketer, if you're like, I'm a chiropractor, but I have clients, but I would like more clients. Like, how do you know where to go?
You have to be, look, it's all out there. It's not like I, somehow created, but it's literally, it's out there. It's just like there's tutorials for Google AdWords that will explain everything to you. Now, the issue is what's your 10,000 hours in? Is your 10,000 hours in making the mistakes and learning from how to spend your budget, what keywords you need to go after, what gives you the best return on an investment, Facebook, what the best Facebook ad, what the best demographic is. And again, so the issue is that's not what works for mortgages or what works for whatever will not be the same thing that works for gyms. So you cannot, like when I see these things out there where they go, oh yeah, you just follow our system and you'll get clients. That's just not real. It's not a real thing. It's trial and error. Now trial and error is very expensive. And so I just took my opportunity to, I call it, I'm really well known in my industry for something called micro conversion. So what I do is I will try to learn from my mistakes very, very quickly and capitalize on that and sort of grow from it. And so, that would be, my best piece of advice. It's trial and error, really. Or you get with a business partner who knows what they're doing.
I was just going to say, there is some, exactly. There is some amount of money that kind of has to be lost, so to speak, in order to kind of figure out your path.
Well, I was listening to your guys' podcast about how you bought the house and you sold it for 1.5 or whatever that story is, and you were able to buy an apartment building with that. And, that is a take money to make money situation. I don't know how long you had that house for before you flipped it. How long did you guys have? 2 years. That was a 2-year game. That's crazy. If you think about it, like, everyone's trying to act like it's get rich quick. That took you guys 2 years to flip it and turn it into what you're able to turn it into.
And a lot of hard work.
And a lot of hard work. Yeah. And I just think that, I think that, my business partners are lucky to have learned or to get the benefit of me making mistakes for, I'm 37 now, started my first business 21, 16 years of, trial and error.
100%.
Yeah. But I feel bad for people. I have friends who start businesses and I'm like, I wonder if they're going to ever reach out to me, because I'm just literally like, I'm here for you. You know what I mean? It's pretty crazy. Yeah.
Well, we tried Facebook ads too, for example, and that's not the right thing for my business. Yeah. And we spent, not too much, but we spent thousands of dollars to not get one lead. Yeah. And before I was like, okay, because sometimes I get in this position where I'm like, is it not working because I'm not doing it right? Or is it not working because it's truly not the right thing?
Yeah. I will tell you there are, I don't do Facebook ads for the salons because that's cheesy. Right. And so I don't get my, you just have to kind of look at it like that. It's like, where are you going to get your customer from? What's your customer going to be attracted to? And I just think I think that's a great point.
Yeah. It's like we found where we get a lot of just clients or people in our business that just from attention is like from this or just telling our story or all the stuff we've done in real estate. People are like, oh shit, you've done all that. Like, why don't we work together or something? That's to return more of a gain just by our experience. Like you saying, done this 16 years, here's my track record. They're like, you can just kind of sell yourself on that. Like, I want to work with you. That's a track record for you. You might not even have to say anything else. But when you're marketing for another business, I want you to buy this. It's
a different story.
You got to try. You got to.
Yeah.
See, you got to test and try.
You got to test and try.
Yeah, I would say that on that note, it's really interesting because like I now have people who come to me. I probably get a message a day on Instagram of people in some sort of situation or somebody who has a startup idea or whatever. And a lot of them are t-shirt businesses, which we're not really into that. But we get people who have really compelling stories, and I take a lot of meetings and a lot of calls, and it's tough because a lot of it is the business partner. Are they even open to the change? Are they they're in rock bottom. I mean, some of these people are, have $400,000 in debt. It's crazy what people are up to.
It's sort of wild to me though, how emotionally invested people are in certain aspects of their business. Like it has to stay that way, even if it's not working. It's just crazy because I'm thinking I would do anything for my business to be successful. So if I have to change a name or change the colors or change a system or a process or I'm like, let's do it.
We'll make quick changes too. Yeah. Like if it's just we'll just quit, pivot and go the other way.
Yeah, there's a few interest. I think you guys will find this interesting. The first thing I always notice is small businesses love being good bosses, and what that means is that they will employ someone at the expense of their profit, or they'll employ someone at the expense of creating debt. So I have a business partner who was, in very high debt in order to keep front desk staff that they didn't need. And that was a really intense thing to have to say, hey, you have to actually let these people go because you're literally going to shut down your business. And they thought I was going to come in there and be like, hey, yeah, I'm going to cover this payroll and we're going to figure this out. And instead I was the guy that said, hey, actually you have to let go of 4 or 5 people. And that's a very intense thing. And it's so often what I see is that they love being great employers. They love being because that's what they they go, okay, at least I'm not going to be a millionaire. At least I'm not going to do this. But what I will be is a really great boss. Yeah. And, and what's funny is, and that's the number one thing I always see as an issue for people. Yeah.
I think it's also really hard to let people go.
Yeah.
Like that is not a fun
They believed in you at one point and, they took it. I think the other thing I always see, funny you say that, is the belief that like, they're doing you a favor, and maybe for a long time they did. Maybe for a long time you did bounce a payroll or you did have whatever, and and now it's like you've outgrown them, and that's a really intense thing to be in.
Funny you say outgrown. That's somebody always said that. Hey, you're gonna outgrow people. Like, no, really? I think they're really great. They're like, you're gonna outgrow them. And then you get to a point you're like, I'm outgrowing them. And then you got to go like, man, the person I never thought I'd let go. You got to let them go.
You even see that with friendships. I mean, I don't know about you guys now that you have a kid. But we're very focused on our goals, and we've been like that. I'd really tell you, I mean, as long as I've been doing this, I've really got focused probably in the last 4 years where I really just got it together and was like, okay, I'm going to really do this. And I just all of a sudden realized like, I didn't want to go out to the bars anymore. We don't drink anymore. We do.
Good for you.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was just, these decisions of waking, I want to wake up at 3:45, but sorry. I'm like, no, but I wake up at 6 o'clock and I'm really excited, and it's just that sort of thing now where, and now it's funny because we're like, oh, we outgrew these people, but now we find the person that we used to think was boring or, kind of whatever. Now I want to hang out with them all the time. Yeah.
My little sister tells me all the time that I'm so boring. I'm like, one day you'll be just like me.
Yeah, you'll be right here.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I think it's 100% the same for us. Yeah. Like Crystal knows me. It's like I would get up earlier and earlier, but it's like, why? I'm like, because I want me time. I'm selfish, but otherwise it's this. But I go at a certain speed. Yeah. And I have certain goals, and there's a lot of people like, hey, why aren't you buying the house? You guys should buy a house. I'm like, no, I've got to get to 100 units, and then then it pays for this. It's like, and then they're good friends, and they know, they're like, dude, you should just buy the house. I mean, just buy a house. I'm like, dude, it's okay. Yeah, I'll just wait. Yeah. It's okay. Yeah. And so I think in business and life, you got to be around those people that understand your goals, that they're pushing you to go, hey, I'm not going to give it 3:45, but I love that you're getting up and screaming into the and excited, so I could jump out of bed too. You know?
Also, though, like you said, those friends that wanted us to stay out late or go to the bars were like, sorry, because then that screws up my morning. Yeah. Like, can't do that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm so bad now. They're like, hey, do you want to go to dinner? Yeah, what time? 7? It's not going to work. They're like, what? 5. I'm like, dude,
or
7. I'm like,
we all
7.
need
I'm
to hang
already.
out.
I'm like, folks, we're descending here in San Diego. We're like, I'm descending. Like, it's.
We actually just had a situation like that. We about 5:30 also, and we had a friend that wanted to meet us for dinner. Got there at 6:30. Was running late by 30 minutes, whatever. By 7 o'clock, we're like, is this? What are we gonna do? We went into full panic mode. We're like,
That's what I do.
this is gonna be an hour conversation. What if the waiter takes too long? And it's very intense. Yeah.
Yeah. No, but most of our friends now have kind of conformed because we're like 5:30.
Yeah.
Like, does that work for you?
Oh, I mean, who eats that late? I mean, just like, don't they even tell you not to do that? Aren't they like, you
You're
will
not even
die if
supposed to
you eat?
You're not even supposed to eat like 2 hours before you go to bed.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, but I'm available at after my workout at breakfast at 5:30.
So this is really funny. A lot of my friends used to be, the going out late, all that sort of stuff. And I tell them, I will be your best friend for breakfast and lunch. I mean, literally, if you want to meet up for breakfast and lunch, I got your back. But it's like anytime after that, I'm not there. And and they love it now because now they always have that friend where if they wake up early, they can call me and I'll meet them up for a coffee or whatever.
There you go.
Yeah. It's really cool.
I mean, it's kind of like, I think everybody goes to that change, but then you get into this. I'm 39, so I'm right there, and I think you just start figuring out who you are, who you want to be, and then you have your goals, and you realize, okay, I get 24 hours in a day. And if I'm doing this, and this, it's helping me. But if I do this and this, I'm not getting any benefit out of it. And then you look at friendships and you look at everything. You're like, if I'm not getting any benefit, unfortunately, you're a nice guy, girl, whatever, but I got to move on because I'm just not getting anything. And I know people don't like that, but that's just the reality.
Yeah. Everyone always asks me, like, how do you do so much in your day? I'm sure you guys get the same question. And my whole thing is I'm just super precious with my time. And so I don't find it entertaining to surf the web all day. I don't find it entertaining to, go out for late night parties anymore. What I find really, is helping somebody, coaching somebody. I take coaching calls all day long. You know what I mean? It's like with my teammates, it's like I'm working all the time. So it's like, I just find that to be the thing. And that value has propelled my projects like tenfold. It's been really intense.
Well, I think also too, and people do ask us that question, is just like, too, we really like what we do. So I don't really consider it work.
Yes.
That's why we do it.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't really care if it's Saturday or Sunday or whatever. Like, I don't put those like constraints on our time because we're doing what we love to do.
Yeah.
I mean, we sold the management company and we had all the stuff going on and life was crazy. And we were doing, 80, 100-hour weeks. Yeah. And we finally looked at each other. We were like, it was 7 days a week. I just said, we can't have a family and keep this up. Even today, our, the lady that cleans our house is like, she's like, you guys need somebody to live in here full time. It's just too crazy. Like we're like, I'm like, I like where you're going, but we're not.
We're not there yet.
Yeah. But that's just because, you get home, we want to spend time with Harlow and the kids. Yeah. That's the other thing it's like she knows, like, no, because Kenny will start doing projects. I can't sit still. So you gotta, it's all prioritizing,
Do you find that it's like a habit you've created too? Because it's like, it wasn't always this way. I used to be able to sit and veg and like watch movies or whatever. And once in a while we still do, but it's really rare.
Yeah.
Because now I feel a little like uneasy when we're not doing anything.
Yeah.
So it's like, even if I'm getting ready in the morning, I'm like, I should be listening to a podcast or something where I'm going to learn something.
Yeah.
Or if I'm driving, okay, I can squeeze in 10 minutes of like something valuable. And so it's like always we're thinking that.
You know what I do is, I don't know if you guys do this, but on my podcast or my audibles, I put it at twice the speed. And so I can take in the information faster so I can listen to more.
You're at 2?
Oh my God, I'm at 2. Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
So we met a guy. The reason why we did that, we met a guy.
I didn't know this is what you guys even sounded like because you guys were at 2 speed.
You sound like chipmunks.
Hey, I can speed it up right now.
It's like, what's your routine? No, I don't know. I can't even.
There's a guy we met that does 3.
Oh, I can't do that.
And he's read 2,000 books and he breaks them down in 15 minutes. He's here locally. I should have him on. Jarvis had him on his thing. And I was like, I went home like, Crystal, 3. She says, wow. So ever since that, 1.5, 2.
I'm between 1.5 and 2, depending on who's talking.
I agree. Yeah. So you're a 1.5. You're a 1.5. You're a 2.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So actually, there's a speed thing I have to do when I'm listening to you guys. if one of you goes on a rant, it's crazy.
Well, he talks the most, so that's.
I don't know. Earlier today, man,
I'll remember and then I'll message you guys. I'll be like, you're the 1.5. You're the 2. Yeah.
I know. It's funny. I'm like, was like, you're the talker, and then told me the other day, oh, Melissa's like, no, you're talking true. I was like, yeah, exactly. Like,
Somebody gave me back up on that, though. They were like, no, out of the two, you're the talker.
okay, well,
Yeah.
what do you, what is your biggest, I mean, you've been doing this now with all these companies. Like, what is your biggest piece of advice you can give somebody that has a small business that's might be starting up, might be thinking about like getting into business, or might be just have a business that's
struggling,
might have been done well. Now it's struggling. They're in debt and they're like, I'm kind of like panicked now. What do I do?
Yeah, my first thing is that it's a lot of hard work, and I think that we all only talk about like the great sides of it, and I've tried to get a little bit more real about that, because I think sometimes people meet me and they're like, oh, he's always so like happy or normal or what, like what's, this is great, I can do that, I can just go. And I also sometimes I think I make it look too easy, where people are like, oh yeah, I went to your site and I saw that you have whatever amount of projects. I'm gonna be like that too. Like I had somebody that said that to me, and I'm like, yeah, but that took a lot of trial and error. That took a lot of I just think that there's a lot of personal growth you have to go through, and unfortunately it's you'll just have to go through it. You have to go through the journey.
There's no way to cut.
There's no way to cut.
There's no shortcut.
There you go. There is no shortcut, you guys. No, but it's and I think that some people are really lucky, and I think I've heard you say that before, where instantly they're going to go out and they become Facebook, and that's great.
Yeah.
And but you have to imagine all the growth he even had to do after that, and it's and all the mistakes, and I know Senate hearings and all these things. You know what I mean? And it's like and making sure that people feel confident in you as a leader. I remember one of my first handbooks was me drunk on the cover of it when I was like 21. I thought that was so funny, but then I realized like what I was actually doing. It was just so bizarre, and now I look back on that guy and I'm just like, oh, what was this guy even thinking? And it's just, so I think that's the first step, and then the second step is you just have to be willing to pivot and learn what makes your business successful. I think a lot of people will say, oh, I'm going to do this, and this is where I'm going to stand, this is my light, and then I'm like, well, you need to pivot, like this is not working for you. And I've looked at a lot of businesses where they're really struggling, and I'm like, I can't even help you because you're not willing to make these simple changes. No.
From your perspective, do you think the economy's healthy for small businesses right now? I mean, people spending, do you see like the consumer?
Oh, I read this article about that Buffalo Wild Wings, when they go, because they're doing pretty poorly, actually. They're not doing well. And
she's expanding.
I'm not surprised.
Well, they're expanding so fast.
Yeah, so it's like them, H&M, all that. But it's and they go, oh, it's because the millennial doesn't go out and eat anymore, out to eat anymore. And actually it's I see millennials at Underbelly all the time. I see people at
we eat out more than I think the average.
Exactly right. And I think what it is what is the intention that you're bringing to the table? What is the experience that you're bringing to the table? And I think that is the real issue. So I actually think when I hear people say that things are closing, blah, blah, all that stuff, it's like that Cotton On store. I think it was a great idea in the beginning. And now they're like, oh yeah, we're really struggling because it's actually because your clothes don't look that great. And, you're making them so cheap and nobody wants to buy notebooks anymore. It's like, there's just that mentality, and you have to pivot. They didn't evolve. I really thought Urban Outfitters was going to fail. I really thought Urban Outfitters was not going to be able to pivot.
They're so hip now.
And they pivoted so hard, and they're such a great lesson in being able to recognize where the trends are going.
And their home stuff too is doing really well.
God, it's great. And and so I just think that people just need to be aware of that. But I think the market otherwise is great. I'm growing salons. I'm growing gyms. We signed a lease for UTC. So it's like this is happening, and we're doing just fine. I think that the real issue is the quality that's out there.
Yeah, because I look at like a Best Buy that probably should have been under, because you can buy all the stuff online, but then they just got smart. They got the Magnolia or whatever, and then they've got Pacific Sales, and then they really did well online. I know they probably shift to a new CEO or whatever, but I feel like some of these big companies, they are making shifts. Now Toys R Us.
So, I was just going to say Toys R Us.
They're starting to come back in with a new model,
I predicted Toys R Us. I predicted it. I predicted that they were going to go into bankruptcy, which I'm sure everybody did. I said to Shannon literally 4 years ago, I said that their square footage is too big. They need to bring down their cost per square foot. similar to like a Trader Joe's model, whatever else, and you get into high traffic areas. And so what do? They've now launched in the Galleria in Houston and in New Jersey.
We still need toys. Where the heck do you go for toys?
Geppetto's is doing just fine. If you guys go to Geppetto's, there's 10 people in all the time.
It's a grab and go. Meaning like, oh shit, I gotta get my,
birthday gift, whatever.
I can't go. I can't get on Amazon. It's too late. I just gotta go. I gotta overpay now. No problem.
And honestly, Geppetto's is crazy.
Yeah, well, it's but you know what it is you go in there. They're a San Diego Geppetto's in fashion. They have in Coronado, all these. But Geppetto's is a family-owned business from San Diego, and they are just full of intention. They give you free gift wrapping when you go in there. So it's again like, what are you doing to make the intention there to be a thriving business? And I will tell you, we are doing just fine, and I think it's because we just have intention in everything we do.
And that's a really good point you make, though, because people will say, and honestly, if you drive around San Diego, you see a hair salon, sometimes multiple on any given block, like 2 or 3 salons. And I'll see them come and I'll see them go. Yeah. And like you said, I think it's just about the intention and the experience. If people are talking about millennials not shopping or not eating out anymore, no, we want an experience. That's exactly what.
Or your marketplace doesn't need it. He's saying accessible, inclusive. That's another thing that's a big thing for us is, we say great hair for all. And everyone is trained, and part of that intensive program I'm talking about, to be able to cut Asian hair, African-American hair. We're trained so that everyone has the full experience, and that we're open to everyone. And if somebody has super curly hair, thick hair, any of that sort of stuff, we cover all of those bases so everyone knows the training. Same thing with the gym. We know what do we do if somebody comes in and they're 300 pounds and they're, it's funny when people call, they go, oh, I'm 300 pounds. I'm really scared to come in, but I heard about you guys through a friend, blah, blah. And we go, you take it as easy as you need to go. We're going to be right there with you. We're going to get you through it. And then you have the guy who's a Navy SEAL getting ready for training. This literally happens all the time for us. We get Navy SEAls all the time. And and they come in and they go, oh, this is the best workout for me, blah, blah. It's you just have to have the intention to help everybody on their path, and everybody's welcome.
Yeah. The example I love using is, I said, you'll know what I'm talking about, is we used to go into movies and we used to bitch about a $5 soda and a $5 popcorn, but now we go to the lot and spend $150 and nobody walks away and goes, what? You don't, because the experience.
It's experience.
People go, you're right. I'm like, my parents used to complain, like we used to sneak food in because why are we paying $5 a soda? Yeah. Because it really wasn't a good experience. We sat in crappy, like somebody said, crappy, nasty seats, people talking behind you. You're trying to watch a movie. I get the experience, but now the experience is like completely different, right?
Yeah.
Like, and we'll spend the money.
And there's a thing that's happening now where they're not doing the thing where it's like we love Lulu. We shop at Lulu all the time, Lululemon, and but we can't. We're not going to do Louis Vuitton. Sorry, we don't have that. We just don't even have that kind of money. I mean, we're everything we put into is going back into our house. I'm trying to get into properties now. Talk to you guys later about that. But it's just this whole growth, and I just realize now it's like, but Lulu, they charge $200 for a pair of pants, but I will buy those because they last longer.
I agree.
They look good. They're more utilitarian. It's like it's a whole experience. So I just think that there's this market that's coming out now where it's like, okay, where are the thousandaires and how can you reach the thousandaire? And and I think that's a really interesting thing. Yeah,
it is interesting because Crystal's always like with stuff is. I think with clothes, like I said, shop at Scotch and Soda because their quality is good. I know what I'm getting. And with Lululemon, I mean, I wear this stuff every day, but I'm like, this shit lasts. I used to wear like t-shirts and this. She goes, what are you doing? That's not built to do this. And they'd get ruined so fast. And now, I mean, I wear the same stuff, but I'm like, you're right. You'll pay $100, but the thing can last for 5 years.
I mean, I think this shirt is possibly 2 years old.
And it looks brand new.
Yeah. That's crazy.
So I think
air dry all your clothes also. That's my other tip. No, just kidding.
I don't dry anything.
Yeah.
I think I think too, like the UTC model is really smart. We're talking about a mall here is, you bring in all these cool restaurants and then you get the consumer there by eating food and they're going to walk around and then you got to hook them. Like, cause I look at UTC, it's like that mall is insane. You know,
you can't scam people. I think that's the other thing I've figured out is that nobody is scammable. So, you know, it's like, so you have to have a good product. You know, the reality is that people want to know that they're coming into the best workout that they can go into. They want to know that they're going to get the best facial that they can get for their, you know, it's all of these things. You know, we're not, you cannot get away with having a cheap shirt now. You know, and maybe at first we were all like, wow, this is a really cool idea. We can get a whole outfit for, you know, $30. That's exciting. That's going away, I think, because we're all realizing that it's going to fall apart. That, you know, the food, you know, it's. I remember when Chili's was great. Do you guys remember back in the day when it was like?
She loves Chili's.
I used to
love Chili's.
We went to one in the
Awesome
airport and it
Blossom,
was
or
so
the-
disgusting.
It was so. We went to one for one of our first dates. It was the last time we ever went to one. I wooed him with Chili's, and
Awesome Blossom.
and it was so bad. But I remember back, you know, and of course, you know, the reason why is they keep on cutting the corners. They're trying to show a profit, whatever else, and now everything's microwaved or whatever they're doing.
But I'm also like, it's about, I mean, first off, you need to evolve because nobody wants to eat crap food anymore.
Yeah.
So if you would elevate the food and rebrand yourself, then you could make a comeback. Because there are a handful of restaurants. We eat at Islands like a decent amount.
We also, are we your soulmates?
Yeah, I think
Is this
so.
happening?
Yeah.
I think this is happening.
But I'm like, don't they do pretty well? Like Islands does pretty well somehow.
Islands
that's
is
what
the
we
middle
said.
is the middle ground version. You know, it's not
we said
great, but it's also.
that's what we said. Why
I
are
want
they
that
still-
moment.
And the design is like poor. Like it's nothing trendy or cool.
we'll go
when you
there.
walk in, but it's like
But for San
relatively
Diego,
healthy.
it's the beach vibe.
Yeah.
It's
They
relatively
do have
healthy.
good
The price
tortillas.
point's right.
They do have good tortilla soup though.
The tortilla soup is the
Oh,
best.
I'll have to try it. Yeah.
Oh, it's actually really good.
Yeah.
We've been cooking at home more, honestly.
have to.
Yeah, it's amazing. We're spending so much money eating out, and it's just now we're like, oh my god, like we're getting into that mode, which I don't know. I think everybody gets to, where when you first start making money, I'm like, oh yeah, we're
Let loose a
crazy,
little.
yeah, we're gonna do stuff I never did before, you know, like all that. And then now all of a sudden we're in that mode where we're like, oh, we really want to hold on to our money. We really want to see this money grow for us. And so now we
You
realize,
gotta make it work.
Oh
you
my
gotta
god,
beat the like. That's what I say. Like we have her work, and I'm like, that thing's like a horse. It's like a workhorse. Like
Yeah.
And then
Well, I don't know.
it gets a very. And you see the return. It gets very addictive, especially
Yes.
in the multifamily thing, because you get cash flow, and then you don't pay tax because depreciation. All this. That's the big kicker. And then
You guys
all of a
wanna-
sudden,
oh,
then
yeah.
you have appreciation. So
Yeah.
you're getting this whole thing, and then you're like, wait a minute. And that's why Crystal and I are like. She's like, when we spend money on something, like, yeah, but we can put it over here. That's an addiction, you know, but longevity, if you build that up, it's there forever. Right?
Yeah, and then once you get to a certain point, it's almost like you'll never be able to spend that. Like, I don't know about you. There's a thing that once there's a certain amount in the bank, you're like, I don't want to ever see it go below that number. So
Yes.
we're staying there. So
Yeah.
it's all of a sudden we're like we were like, we're not going to a movie, whatever. It was so funny. We were being so impractical at one point because we're like, we're not going to go below this number because it was so exciting. And it was only $1 away from that number. But we were like, we're not leaving that number. Yeah.
It's funny because we look at that, but then also since we work with people who own a lot of real estate, the one thing that we've seen consistently is that you get to a certain level, like we have goals of like how much cash flow we want to make from our real estate. The cool thing about that cash flow is then you can spend that money because guess what? You can spend every dollar, but next month it comes again.
Yeah, that's great.
It comes again.
Yeah.
It comes again. So that's why we're so focused on doing everything to build up cash flow.
It's a great,
So
exciting.
then at that point, if you want to be like, if you want to go to Louis Vuitton and buy that thing, you buy it because it's coming again next month.
Yeah, I like that.
I mean, that's the thing. So for us, it's really simple. Like like we were saying, goals is like, I say 100 units because I know what 100 units makes.
Mm-hmm.
So I just tell people this. I go, look, it's pretty simple for me. We're really close. Like,
What does 100 units make?
Probably, I'd say probably $400,000 a year.
That's crazy.
So,
Yeah.
so I just say I get to 100 units,
Yeah.
and then I basically am done as far as like, cool, I can go, cool, buy a house, and I have my whole lifestyle. If I want to spend piss away 20,000-30,000 a month,
Yeah.
I don't care because it's paid for every month.
Yeah.
So everything we do here and work, I just keep going to build.
Good.
And once you get to 100, it's easy to get to 200, 204 because
Well,
of the
then you can
scalability.
grow more
Yeah.
organically. Then you don't have to bring as much
Because you have
of your own
there's
cash
more
to the table.
capital and things like that.
You know, it's funny. My goal is 100 brick and mortar businesses. So it's funny that
go.
you say that, but that's literally, I have a list on my phone I could show you, but it literally says 100 projects. And it's basically, I count every time I add another project on, and my goal is to hit 100. So that's
Awesome.
same thing.
We do have a lot in like.
Yeah. That's really cool. You know, it's funny in multifamily housing because I used to do all the marketing for it. And it was, when I first went went in, they were like 50% capacity, right? They were like, how do we bring clients in, all the stuff. So I got them to 100%, and which they were like amazed because they were just getting all these leads. It was really exciting. And then what they did was they were like, cool. And they raised all the rent on these units, right? And then it dropped down, and they just were like, yeah, we're cool. So they always kept it at 90% capacity.
You don't want to be 100%.
You never want to be 100%.
That means you're under rented.
Yeah. And so basically, I learned that, and I was blown away, and I was like, oh my God, that's so crazy. Yeah. So anyways.
Yeah. So it's in San Diego, 90% is tough to do because you're just going to get higher than that.
Yeah.
But
Probably
like if you have like when you
But also you're doing luxury, so luxury is different.
when you
Probably
see the
90.
nice luxury, I'm not talking the high rise, I'm talking the stuff that's built Mission Valley here. They're running at 85, 90. People are like, that's crazy. You're like, no, it isn't, because it's already built in their model. That's what they want.
Yeah.
Because if they're not, somebody's like, we need to jack the rents because that's just how it is. But it's funny, you kind of know that. Yeah, you learn all these little things.
We get some like small owners that will be like, all my properties are 100% occupied and we have a waiting list to get in. I'm like, yeah, your rents are way too low then.
Yeah.
So it's a funny thing you said about business. I was laughing
And
because
they're
like,
so proud of it. Though. They're
people
like,
don't listen. You come in and do this, and the same thing with us.
Well, can you imagine you telling someone, oh, actually, you need to raise your rent and be at 90%? I mean, can you imagine that advice? I mean, and they're going, there's no way. And they can't even conceptualize it because they don't have their 10,000 hours of knowing that what does this actually mean is that you have 90 other units, let's just say, that are making now 3 or 4, extra $100 a month,
Right.
So.
But that's where the benefit comes for people like us to buy those units because, we listen to Grant Cardone and some other people too, but we see it all the time is like a lot of these owners they've owned these properties forever. So they don't need the money. Like we're looking at it going, okay, you got to raise the rents. You're way too low. You got to do this. And they're like,
they've owned it for 15 years. They've already probably pulled their money back out with the refi. This is it's all free.
Yeah.
It's like a joke,
So they're like, I don't want to work harder to make a few bucks. Like
I
I'm already
wish.
happy.
Yeah, let's get there. Let's all do it together. No.
Yeah, we know.
Let's all hold hands.
We know plenty of the owners like that here.
Yeah.
They're just like you meet. You're like you're below. They're like, yeah, 1,500 units. I'm not. I can't even spend the money I make every freaking. It's like so
crazy.
they don't. So they're. I get it. You get to a certain level and they're like, look, you don't want to work that hard anymore.
Yeah.
So you're like, cool. I'm good at. I could be at 1,500. I'm going to be at 12 because I want to enjoy my life.
Yeah.
Like what's $300 more? I don't really need it. It's crazy, but you get to a certain different level. You have different conversations.
I'd equate that with people will come to me and they'll be in a whatever situation, and I'm like, I just know it'd be so much work and so much coaching and mentorship that I'm like, I don't even know if I can emotionally take it on. Even though they're a great person, whatever else, I'm like, I'm actually kind of set right now. Even though I want to get that 100, I don't know if that is somebody I want to take on. So
but
it's
also
funny.
that's smart. I think like when you first start in business, you take on every client that you can.
I always tell everybody that. I say, I remember when I first started, I had no small business clients. So when the recession hit, I just started getting into multifamily. It took a huge hit. And I had McDonald's. McDonald's used to have the franchises, they had a crazy paid thing, a net. It was like a net 180 or something crazy like that. So literally did all this
companies.
work.
Yeah.
It wasn't getting paid for 180 days. Recession hits, have all this team, lose a bunch of clients over my cash flow. It was insane. And so I basically had to figure out how to recover from that. And I realized that was by having a small client. And I started taking on the smaller clients. I'll tell you, the small clients always paid on time, never had any issues.
Because we know.
So did you build back up through with smaller clients? Or?
Yeah. So I always kind of look at it as like your pyramid of foundation, and it's like basically having the the 10 small clients, 5 medium clients, top client. And so I just tried to match and make sure that I always had that sort of level. Now we have a few clients left in that whole group, and then otherwise everything's an investment.
But you do have to be selective with your time. I think I learned that too by saying yes to everybody. Then after a while, you're like, okay, the person who's making me the least amount of money is actually costing me the most time. Yep. And at some point, you do have to have some quality of life and be able to think about your own stuff too. Because I always tell Kenny is like, nobody's going to think, everybody wants you to do for them, but they're also out there making sure that they're taking care of themselves. Yeah. So we also have to take care of ourselves too at some point. Are
you guys feeling effervescent about 2020? I know it sounds kind of funny, but I felt like I wasn't going to make it to 20. I don't know. It's almost like I had no expectation past 2020. And now that I'm in 2020, life just feels easier. I know it sounds weird, but I have no expectations. I have no whatever. I literally just am glad to even be here. So now it's funny. I've been getting some messages from people asking for whatever. And I'm just like, oh man, I'm just glad to even be here. I don't even know if I can have the time to. I'm just glad to even make it.
Let me enjoy this.
Yeah, let me just be in this space. So it's so funny.
Yes, I do feel that way a little bit. Kenny's a good pusher.
Yeah.
So I could coast a little bit.
Yeah.
And he's definitely more of the type that's like, we gotta keep
Good for you.
pushing.
Good for you.
So
Yeah.
I get that.
He's like that with me.
Yeah.
He forces me to.
It's good to have that in a relationship. I
Yes.
feel like I'm definitely the one who makes him calm down some, and he's the one who kind of like pushes me along.
I'm like your guys' love child. I'm very, I'm very crazy and always coming up with an idea or whatever.
That's
but then at
awesome.
the same time, I'm also like, I'm chill as can be sometimes. It's like too much. Yeah.
I was actually just gonna ask you too, so your goal is to get to 100 brick and mortar businesses, but what other goals do you have? Like, what other goals do you have for the Canu Group or personally?
Oh my God. Personally, we're starting to go through adoption classes and all that to adopt. So we want to do that.
Cool.
And then honestly, that's pretty much it. It's like we're just really
You got a new pad. So that's
got a new pad, bought a place. Yeah. And that was pretty cool. And our first, real estate renter, that we're not making any money on the property because the mortgage is so high, but we'll get there with refinancing down the road, right? I'll ask you guys about that later. And then I think just really just kind of I honestly I really want to just continue to grow. I'm really excited about business, and I just want to continue to see all of them flourish. Renegade I think we have 3 locations in the pipeline. We have a lease in Pacific Beach and here in San Diego, UTC. We have another one that we're trying to work on. So we have a lot of stuff going on with that. Yoga Box, working on our 3rd location, which is under a year, growing faster than Core Power Yoga. So it's like there's just a lot. I mean, I think this last year I did 13 projects. This year I think I'm going to do about 20 to 30. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that'll keep you busy.
I hope so. No, I'm kidding.
I think 2020 is I think a lot of people are saying either the new decade or whatever. So I think a lot of people are looking back 10 years.
Yeah.
And so when we met when
2009.
in the recession.
Wow, 2009. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
So our story is kind of on the podcast. So we've had nothing and
That's
came
right.
out of a hole.
You lived behind a veterinary clinic?
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. Great memory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, so we came out of a hole and we did that. Just basically work hard and just keep going.
Isn't it funny how it feels like 10 years is not that long of a time, but what you've accomplished is actually so extraordinary? You know what I mean? From 2009 to now 2020, what you've done is so crazy. I mean, it's pretty cool.
Well, it's kind of wild too, because when I'm telling people, if I talk about something that happened in the past, a lot of times I'll be like, oh, it was like 5 years ago, maybe 7, 8. And I'm like, no, that was before I met Kenny.
Yeah.
So, oh shit, it's like 15 years
Yeah.
ago.
Like mine is how cool I used to be. Yeah. So it's like, I'm like, yeah, I used to go, I've been to Coachella 5 times. And then I'm realizing now that that's further and further away. And I'm like, and so now when I tell the story, I'm like, it's cute, man.
Yeah. I'm like, I should stop talking about that, I guess.
Yeah.
He'll call me out on it sometimes. He's like, wasn't that like a while ago? I'm like,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah.
I'm like, and then I think, we've been together for about 4.5 years now, I think.
Cool.
And you guys just celebrated your 1-year anniversary, right?
We got married. It was kind of a funny story. We went down to the courthouse and we were like, we're just going to get our paper and then elope to Hawaii. And the guy was wearing a Lady Gaga shirt. And he goes, if you want to get married right now, we'll do it. And I was like, oh, okay. And we looked at each other and we're like, sure. So this guy in a Lady Gaga shirt married us.
That's
awesome.
He was our officiant. And so we just went with it. Yeah. So 1 year of wedding bliss.
We went down to the courthouse too. First before we got married to avoid capital gains. So Crystal's like, I'm not gonna do it. I said, cool, here's the tax you're gonna pay. She goes, cool, when are we going? I said, exactly.
Yeah. So romantic.
Yeah, very romantic. It was funny. We opened Yoga Box with the money. So we were going to have a wedding and because, I'm sure you guys are, I don't know how you guys are, but like I'm constantly reinvesting. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, it's like, so it's literally like, sometimes I look at people, I'm like, how do you even have money? Just like, cause I'm just constantly just, cool. I did 10 projects this year. They had a great return. Next year I'm doing 20, it's just, that's where my brain goes.
Live in debt.
Yeah, exactly.
We feel broke. Like, maybe Kenny doesn't, but I always feel broke.
Yeah.
And it's more because we constantly have money going into projects.
Yeah.
And
Like
real estate
we
and
never
stuff, but
we've never ever touched principal or cash flow.
Oh, well, that's
don't.
amazing.
No,
Good for
so
you
it's
guys.
just
it's always reinvested.
if it's like we never go, let's go buy some. Literally, if we did, somebody would be like, did you guys get hit in the head or something?
Our thing was the house, which was probably, I mean, we did that with the house, and we were like, okay, we're gonna start cooking at home.
Yeah.
But it was just it's funny though, because even when I was at the I feel like I'm at a great place in my life, honestly, compared to what I hear from a lot of people. And even when that was just such an undertaking, so we all know what it takes to put 20% down, and I won't even tell you all that. But it was just and so it's just so interesting to
and that's a big chunk of change to set aside. It's a big commitment.
It was a big commitment, and then along with that, trying to do projects and not just get anyways. But it's been pretty. I don't know what we were talking about. What were we talking about?
Well, it does make a lot of sense though that you guys are adopting or looking into adoption.
It's
you
cheaper.
do want to have a home.
No, just kidding.
Not going to have like a surrogate or something.
I really, I'm adopted actually, and I wanted to just do the same. I think that I've carried my one great piece of baggage I've always carried is I've always wanted everyone around me to get the chance that I didn't get in a lot of things, because I just remember being younger and going, if somebody would just give me a chance, if somebody would just give me a chance. If I don't know if you guys ever had those moments where it was burned in my brain. If someone just gave me the opportunity, I promise I wouldn't fail them. And so when I first got my very first opportunity at getting a job and all those things, I took it so seriously. I gave it 100% that I just want to do that same thing for somebody else.
Did you feel like you had to prove yourself more than everybody else?
I did. Yeah, I do. And I think part of that is being a gay man in business. I think that, I always say that I kind of feel like we have, it's probably the same thing, honestly, as being a woman in business, but the gay experience is you have to come out, and then you have to deal with the repercussions of coming out. You have to find your identity. You have to, so all of a sudden it took me 7 or 8 years to just even be comfortable in my own skin, let alone just to be myself. Just that one thing. Yeah. And so I, in a lot of ways, felt even 7 years behind my straight counterpart, who is lucky to not get made fun of in school or not have any of those experiences. So it's just very interesting. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I think that I've had to work much harder to earn my place at the table. And trust me, I've been in a lot of rooms of a lot of big corporations that will one day be in a book of people saying really crazy stuff about different ethnicities, women, gay, all that stuff. So.
I've witnessed some things as well, like even in our business. And I mean, I've had a lot of like situations since I've been self-employed too, even when I was younger, like just even with like sexual harassment and stuff like that. Yeah. I literally had a guy tell me like, well, I can say what I want because I'm not technically your employee. Like you can't sue me.
Yeah.
And you're like, what do I do right now in this situation? So you do have to deal with a lot of those things. And there's a lot of that happens in the workplace. And it's still surprising to me that stuff still exists, honestly. It seems so old school and old thinking to me.
Yeah, but you got to remember there's a lot of people that are stuck in old school and old thinking. That's the problem.
I also think it's just, what do you do when you're in a power position and you have to make decisions that are, you have to really check your conscience and you have to make, and it's even you guys, how do you treat your employees? How do you treat your team? I look at everybody as a coworker and like a teammate rather than me saying that I'm just a boss of somebody.
Same here.
I look at everything as a partnership. So, when Shannon and I met, it's like, I look at, we're equals coming to a table. So I just think it's very important to have that all the time.
I feel like I work for them too.
Yeah, yeah.
I work
Honestly,
for them. Like if I'm not producing, they're out. They're screwed. That's not cool. Yeah. So we kind of take that like we work for them. I never think like, oh, they're never. Yeah. We've never been like that. Like we're just always like with the property management, we're like, we'll do anything. Like people know I'll go on the property. I mean, we bought a 30 unit. I mean, she killed me and it had this massive hill. I spent 5 weekends in a row with I show up with 7, guys, and we're over there transplanting 500 succulents from my friend's house to there. And people are like, and I did this whole hill and people came, the landscaper was like, you did all this? Like, you're crazy to save money. But the point is the guys are there like, why is this guy here? It's just because, Crystal's like after 5 weekends, like, okay,
you gotta stop.
You gotta say, but it's like,
you have a kid,
Yeah. But like you said, I think when people see that, I want them to see that, like this, just because I own this or whatever, that doesn't get to my head. Because we never tell anybody we own the property that's on there. Like I'm just with management.
Yeah.
Then it comes out I'm a manager. I don't even know who the owner is. He's an asshole.
Did you ever have for a while? I used to be like, oh, please ask me about my my businesses. Please ask me about who I am.
You feel proud.
Yeah. I was so proud, and now I live in a place where I'm like, oh, I don't even want to talk. I want to learn more about the other person. I just want to. I'm so excited about learning about what other people are up to. Yeah. So it's just so interesting how that can change with age and time and all that.
And I think too, like to go back to your thing about like where we're at. I think, you know, you're probably at a place in your life with us is where you're not, like you said, you kind of figure out who you are and where you're going, and you have a lot of great things going on. And the other thing is, you know, I always tell people the economy's been really good.
Yeah.
And and I tell people, you can look back 10 years for some people, it hasn't been good. They decided to give up, not work hard. They made a lot of bad decisions and continued instead of pivot and make change. And they could have done really well the last 10 years. And I think moving forward the next 10 years or 5 years, whatever you look out, like everybody's going to have the same opportunities. It's like, you know, if the economy goes bad, it's like, okay, bad, but it's like, we always look at like, where can we thrive in this?
Yeah. How will you pivot? How will you deal with adversity? How will you deal? I mean, we all have the same opportunity, you know, and chance to earn our place at the table.
Yeah. And there's still people shopping and buying and spending. It's like, where do you get their attention? You know?
Yeah, exactly. No, it's really cool.
And in real estate, that's what we saw. I mean, in the downturn, they were making a heck of a lot more money than they're making today.
Yeah.
I mean,
investors?
most real estate investors like want that to happen again.
I mean, we personally know the guys when there was 3 people at the courthouse.
It's great to be at the top when you can, you know.
This is where you learn. It's not even about money.
Yeah.
It's when you go through the master's degree that we, like you said, you got a master's from learning, like the master's degree that we got from property management, all this stuff. Like when you go through another downturn, even if I had $20 million, if I was an idiot, it doesn't mean I'm going to make it.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, you know, so much more stuff now. Like even you with businesses, you're like, whenever the downturn comes, you're like, man, if we have capital or I know people that can raise it because they know I know how to run it in this. Like, that's not what I said, but what have you got money? They're like, Kenny, you don't need money. What do you mean? They're like, there's somebody else that would have money. If you didn't have any, they're going to be like, I don't have time, but I have a ton of money, and you know what you're doing. Here's the money. Go buy a bunch of real estate and do what you do. Because I know what you know. Just like, let's go buy businesses that are for pennies on the dollar that need to get out.
Yeah.
And that's another model. Like,
honestly, that is a model. I mean, it's like literally how I will tell you, and again, you know, I do it because I know I can help someone, but I usually don't even have to put up much capital anymore to end up helping somebody. So it's really maybe me covering a payroll or me whatever, but I'm basically taking on a business. It's sweat equity.
And now you have that confidence that you can turn the business around.
But of course I would never do that to someone who, if I couldn't help them, you know, I mean, I think, you know, that's, and you know, and there's people I can't help, and I've learned that the hard way also. So I've definitely, again, you can look at my resume and go, oh my God, this is amazing. But there's also been some bumps on that road. Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming in.
Oh my God,
this is fun. We can probably keep chatting
what
forever.
A pleasure. Oh my God. Yeah.
It's funny because I knew about what they said, and sometimes we have people come in and like, I just don't know. I don't like, you didn't meet them. I go, no, this is the fun part about it.
Yeah.
So I'm totally glad you took the time to come in because I know you're busy, and I'm sorry that we don't live in Savita anymore.
I know. I was actually like, oh my God, we're all gonna go on a walk around that big.
We do. I'm always around there.
Yeah, and I was like, and they're so close, and then they will be like so cool, and yeah. So
we just moved on the 20th.
I was one of the few that was in the gym at like 4 to 4:30
in the morning.
Yeah.
Oh, no. I'm like, oh yeah. It is getting busier. I go at I'm not sure I'm gonna say, but I go at a certain time. I just feel like I'm always worried now. I had a situation where I had to take my phone number out of all my stuff because people were starting to like harass me and stuff. It's pretty crazy. Yeah. So
wow.
No. Anyways, on that note, no.
Two questions. Where can people find you? Whatever, if they want to learn more about your businesses or anything.
Yeah. So on Instagram, I'm Billy Canu, CAN as in Nancy U. So Billy Canu, and then I'm canugroup.com or billycanu.com goes to the same place. And if anyone's out there and they need any sort of support, guidance, all that stuff, I'm an open book, and I love to at least have the conversation.
Awesome. And then last question is what's the probably biggest nugget or thing you've learned in 16 years of doing all this stuff that you probably can leave us with?
I think consistency and capitalizing on your 10,000 hours. So I think that is it Malcolm Gladwell, 10,000 hours? You guys familiar with that? Okay, cool. Yeah, but I've learned about being consistent, and being consistent is like so powerful. And then constantly sort of growing. So if my 10,000 hours is in marketing, now my 10,000 hours is learning accounting, then my 10,000 hours is learning, and I just kind of constantly try to chip away. So I just push myself to continue to learn. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Leave it at that.
Thanks
Thank
for
you
coming on.
guys.
This was
Thank
awesome.
you.